Hello. Well, today I'm very excited to say I've been joined by Martin Edwards, who is the 2020 winner of the Crime Writers Association Diamond Dagger. He's also the president of the Detection Club and so much more as well. He's written some amazing books. I am currently enjoying Gallows Court, and I've got the sequel to that, Mortmain Hall, all lined up for me to read next. So I should encourage you to read those. Before we start, underneath here, you will find all the links. You'll find links to Martin's website, and you will find links to his books on Amazon as well. So welcome, Martin. It's lovely to meet you.
Likewise. Well, thanks for inviting me. I'm delighted to have the chance to talk to you.
Well, would you like to tell us a little bit about you and your writing career to start with?
Sure. Well, I've always wanted to write, and unlike some people, I've always specifically, from being a small boy, wanted to be a writer of crime fiction, detective stories. That was my one and only ambition. It took me a long time to fulfil it, because I was 8 when I started out on Agatha Christie for the first time, and I was in my 30s when I published my first book. But that first book introduced a series set in Liverpool, featuring a character called Harry Devlin, who's a lawyer. And I've been a lawyer in Liverpool for many years. And there were 8 books in that series, 7, and then one followed about 10 years after the first 7. I've written a couple of standalones. I've written an ongoing series of novels set in the Lake District Mysteries. And most recently, as you've mentioned, I've written a couple of books set in the 1930s. I'm working away on the 3rd one in that series at the moment. And those books, in a kind of way, reflect my enthusiasm for classic detective fiction as well as contemporary detective fiction. I'm a big fan of the genre as well as a writer, and I've always had a love of the whole range of crime novels, and I've written quite extensively about other people's crime writing. And I've written a number of books. The Golden Age of Murder was one. The Story of Classic Crime in 100 Books was another. And more recently, I've been the consultant to the British Library with their series of crime classic reprints, which is a lot of fun and has enjoyed success that has taken us all by surprise. So that's been very enjoyable indeed.
I think that's very modest. Right. So with all of that background, can I ask you, who are your heroes then in the genre of crime fiction?
Well, I began with Agatha Christie, so I've always got a soft spot for those books. There is a reason why they're still so successful to this day. In more recent times, I was a huge admirer of Ruth Rendell, P.D. James, Reginald Hill, as well as contemporary writers, the likes of Anne Cleeves, Ian Rankin, Peter Robinson, and so on. Also the Americans. I'm a big fan of quite a number of American writers, from Raymond Chandler and Cornell Woolrich right up to the present day, with people like Louise Penny and many, many more. So yes, I'm very definitely a fan. And although I've got this particular love of Golden Age detective fiction, I definitely don't think that's incompatible with loving contemporary fiction as well, and writing it too.
No, definitely. Right. Well, I'm very glad to hear that you are working on a third novel in the 1930s series, because I would be very disappointed if it stopped at the second one. So keep going with those, please.
Thanks.
So let's see. So when were you first published?
Well, I began to be published with legal articles and legal books many years ago. I wrote industrial quantities of legal articles and legal books because it was a way to get published. And although it's a digression, given that my driving ambition was to become a crime writer, it was a way to get published, to get paid, which is always important where possible, and to get the experience of dealing with publishers, negotiating my own contracts. I didn't have an agent in those early days, and getting used to having your books reviewed, and also the discipline of writing legal books. I tried to write them interestingly, which is quite a challenge, but there's a lot of dry technical stuff in there. But it was important to me to write them well as I was able to do, and it was also a very good training ground, because with that kind of book or that kind of article, you have to get it right. It's very important. If you get the legal information wrong, you are certainly in trouble. So that was a good discipline, and that I think has helped me with the fiction. It's helped me in all sorts of ways. Just the experience of being published, the experience of being reviewed, and so the experience of dealing with publishers, deadlines, and so on. All these are part and parcel of a writer's life, whatever you're writing. And it was certainly a good background. I don't write legal material now, but over the years, I did produce quite a lot of it, as I say.
Right. And so whilst you were working as a lawyer yourself, were you writing crime fiction alongside that and cutting your teeth on that? Or?
Well, that my first stories, I've still got them. I wrote a number of little crime stories when I was 10, with very pompous introductions and chapter titles. I do. Yes, they have titles like A Few Bodies and Exit 3 People and things like that. So I was a very macabre 10-year-old indeed. So it really was a lifetime goal. And as I say, the legal career, I am still a part-time consultant to my firm. That was a digression, but it's one I've enjoyed and I've been very grateful for. And the other thing was, of course, it gave me an income stream. And looking back on it, I realise now even more than I did at the time that it was very good for me as a writer of fiction, because it did mean that I was able to write books that I cared about, books that I believed in, rather than books that a particular publisher might want me to write. And that may seem slightly counterintuitive, because crime is a commercial genre, of course, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think even within a commercial genre like crime fiction, it's really important to care about what you do and to write it as well as ability, and to keep improving, keep striving to improve. I think these things are very important. I think that sometimes the need to earn a living from writing can get in the way. And I've often ambition was to become a full-time crime writer until I met and became friendly with full-time crime writers, and they rather discouraged me, explaining all the downsides from a financial point of view. So it was good experience, and I think although it took a long time, this determination to write what I believed in the long run was the right way to go.
Yeah. Marvelous. Right. Well, obviously you have really fulfilled your ambition as an 8-year-old, given that you're now an award winner, you're president of the Detection Club. Can you tell us a little bit about the Detection Club and the CWA and how you're involved with that?
Yes, well, the CWA, the Crime Writers Association, is the professional organisation for crime writers in the UK, but it also has members all across the world, and it's quite a large organisation now, probably about 900 members, something like that. It was founded in the early 1950s. by John Creasy. And if you're eligible to join as a writer, then you can just apply and join and take part in the CWA's many activities and events. The Detection Club is older and it's different. The Detection Club was really the world's first social network for crime writers. It was founded in 1930 by a man called Anthony Berkeley, a very, very good crime writer indeed, also wrote under the name of Francis Isles. And it began with a series of informal dinners that he hosted in the late 20s, when he invited people like Agatha Christie, Dorothy L. Sayers, A.A. Milne, who himself wrote a famous detective story before he wrote Winnie the Pooh, and G.K. Chesterton and others. And they decided to form a club. But it was a social club, but it was aimed at raising the literary standards of crime fiction. They were also people who believed in writing fiction of quality. And Chesterton was the first president when the club was formed in 1930. The subsequent presidents were people like Dorothy L. Sayers and Agatha Christie. And back in 2015, I was elected as the 8th president, which is a great thrill, a great honour. And the club continues to this day. It's still a pretty small social club. It produces books from time to time to help keep it afloat. And the most recent one is a book called Howdunit, which is about the art and craft of crime writing. And pretty much every living member of the club contributed to that book. It was published towards the end of last year. The likes of Ian Rankin, Val McDermid, Alexander McCall Smith, Anne Cleves, John le Carré, Len Dayton, to whom the book is dedicated, who's been a member of the club for 50 years. And there are also pieces by deceased former members like Christie and Sayers and Chesterton. And the great thing was everybody contributed for free to raise funds for the club. All those people, they didn't need to do it, but they did, and it was a wonderful experience receiving this material. And it's really a book about the craft of writing crime and the nature of the crime writing life from many, many different angles, many different points of view. And it was a fun book to compile, and I was enormously grateful to all these wonderful writers for sparing the time to help out.